Welcome to FPB's Meet the Candidates. I'm Harvey Couch. This Cable 10 series allows you, the voter, to hear directly from the candidates who want to lead our community. We took questions from viewers via email and social media, and now we get to hear the candidates' views on issues that are important to us. This is all leading up to the general election on May 19th. Let's welcome today's guest, Democratic candidate for sheriff, Dwayne Depp.
Thank you for having me here, sir.
Yeah, absolutely, Dwayne. Thank you so much for taking the time. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what motivated you to run for sheriff.
Sure. Let me first start out by saying thank you to you and Cable 10 and the plant board for doing this service for the community. I do think it's important that the voters know who are vying to be the elected leaders, so I do appreciate you guys giving us this opportunity. To give you guys a little bit about who I am, my name is Dwayne Depp, and I proudly currently serve as a sheriff for Franklin County. I was born and raised in a little small town called Glasgow, Kentucky, about 2 hours south of here. I'm a product of a divorced family. Parents got married and divorced at an early age. Grew up with two brothers and a sister. We did not have a whole lot of resources, so early on I learned how to make things happen and how to be successful. My mom, who taught me just about everything that I know, taught us to be respectful, professional, to make good decisions and make sure that we're treating people with respect. I was fortunate enough to be a decent athlete in high school, so I went on to Murray State University on a football scholarship. While at Murray State University, I had the opportunity to play sports and also major in criminal justice. Had to make the very first important decision as a young man while I was at Murray State University, and that was deciding whether or not I was going to join the state police. They had actually came and done a recruiting fair my senior year of college, and told me that nobody gets in, or not many people get in the first time. So I took the test, passed the test, went to the next phase, passed the next phase, and before you know it, they were offering me a job to join the Kentucky State Police. So I actually left college, joined the Kentucky State Police, had a very successful career with the state police, was fortunate enough to retire from the Kentucky State Police as a captain, only the third African-American captain in the history of the state police at that time. After I retired from the Kentucky State Police, I went on to a nonprofit called Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky, served there as the assistant director. Their mission was to prevent the abuse and neglect of Kentucky's kids. After serving at Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky, I accepted my first gubernatorial appointment to the Kentucky Parole Board. Had the chance to sit across some of Kentucky's most violent offenders and made decisions about whether or not they get out of prison, whether or not they stay. If they do stay, what are the stipulations in which they stay. Done that job for about 3.5 years, and then I went to the Department of Criminal Justice Training as a instructor in their leadership section. What I did there, I taught executive level law enforcement courses to our sheriffs and chiefs of police and supervisors in law enforcement. Then I came back to Frankfort and worked as the director of insurance fraud. Then I also served as the director of enforcement at alcohol beverage control. And my last stint in state government, I served as the commissioner of workplace standards, which is in the labor cabinet. And we did all of the OSHA investigations, workplace injuries, workplace deaths. Took a short period of time off from there, then joined the Franklin County Sheriff's Office in 2021, served as Chris Squire's chief deputy for a number of years, and then in August of 2025, I was appointed sheriff upon Chris Squire's retirement. So that's some of the things that I've done as far as my professional career. Excited about the opportunity to run for sheriff. I think, being the chief law enforcement officer in the capital city is very important. I think it's important that we set good standards for the rest of the state to see. And I'm excited about the opportunity to not only lead the men and women of the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, but also to be a leader in the state as it relates to how our Sheriff's Office is run.
Okay. So what do you think then is the most important role that the sheriff in Franklin counties can play?
Well, I will tell you, having served for the last 8 months and then being the chief deputy for a number of years, the sheriff's office has a number of roles, and then depending on where you sit, really depends on how important that role is. We at the sheriff's office, collect, $50+ million in taxes every single year. So it's very important that the sheriff has an understanding of budgetary means, fiduciary responsibilities, and also making sure that those monies are collected and getting to the right place at the right time. We play a big role in our school resource officers and keeping the school safe. We play a huge role in court security, and we play a very big, major role as it relates to enforcement. So there are several different responsibilities that the sheriff has, and he or she needs to be able to make sure that they're juggling all those things to keep all those balls in the air so that nothing falls through the cracks.
So we'll get into probably all of those things as we talk, but the ability to keep the balls in the air, what do you think is the most important skill that you would need to be an effective sheriff?
Well, I really think that communication is very, very, very important. With that communication, not only the 55 employees that we have at the sheriff's office, but communication with the public that we police and that we collect taxes from, but also having a good understanding and good communication and a good set of networking skills with our shareholders in the community. We are a small but fairly medium-sized agency, and because of that, there are resources that we need from time to time that we don't have. So in order to make sure that we have those resources when we need them, being able to have partnerships throughout not only the city of Frankfort, but also the state of Kentucky really means a lot. So I think communication, being able to listen to what our constituents say that they need, but not only just listening, but also being able to put a plan together that you can execute that plan so that you can be efficient to satisfy the needs of the community.
So obviously as a sheriff, you're leading a team right there. Can you talk about your leadership style, how it shapes the culture of the sheriff's office?
Sure, absolutely. If you ask anybody on my team, I expect a lot from my supervisors. As a matter of fact, I expect more from them than I do from anybody. My leadership style is kind of based on the fact that we give our deputies a gun, a badge. They have the right to take away people's life, liberty, and property. So because they have all those expectations, from my perspective, I really give them the autonomy and the freedom to go out and do the things that they need to do in order to not only be safe, but also to make sure that the citizens are following the law of the land. But with that being said, I think it's important that we don't micromanage, that we give them the space to do their job, but we also hold them accountable. So I'm big on accountability. My team knows that I expect them to do the things and follow the policies and procedures and the law. But at the same time, I'm also big on giving them the freedom in order to make good decisions, in order to do their job, and to the best of their ability and based on discretion. In law enforcement, discretion is a big word, and depending on the situation and what each deputy is doing from time to time, they have discretion to make decisions about how they want to handle that situation. And I'm really big on giving them the freedom to decide how things need to be handled and not kind of armchair quarterback it, from that Monday after you've seen it, but give them the freedom in order to do the things they need to do.
Obviously, you mentioned you stepped in the fall for Sheriff Choir. Can you maybe pick one thing that you think had been running really well and you will continue, and maybe one thing that you look to maybe you've already changed or you look to change in,
Sure.
in
Absolutely.
how things work?
Absolutely. One of the things that I think that we have going really well at our office is, a lot of agencies are having a hard time keeping people as it relates to manpower. We are very fortunate at the Sheriff's Office. We have been fully staffed for a good period of time now. We're fully staffed now. Since I've taken office, we have lost maybe a few people, but it had nothing to do with the change of leadership. Usually when there is a change of leadership, there's usually a lot of people that might be moving around in different places and going to different agencies. We're very blessed here that we have not had that. And we also have some people waiting in the wings that have reached out to us that want to come when we have openings. So I feel that that's a sign that we're doing things the right way here, that we got people that want to come to work at the Franklin County Sheriff's Office where other agencies are having trouble keeping people. And if I could also say, I think another big thing that I want to make sure that I give praise to is our school resource officers. You know, we have 13 school resource officers. Every school in the county is covered. We're very thankful for that. Our relationship with the superintendent, Mr. Kopp, our captain over our school resource officers, Jeff Aberson, they're doing a magnificent job of making sure that not only the kids are safe, but the people that come to the ball games, the teachers, the administrative staff, everybody that's associated with the school system is safe, and I think those folks are doing a phenomenal job.
Let's talk a little bit about school safety. Do you see a role? Obviously, the SRO is super important. Do you see a role in the sheriff's office in school safety beyond just the resource officers? Are there opportunities there?
Sure, yeah. And, you know, we've actually had the opportunity to do some training, not only just our school resource officers, but our deputies. We've had the opportunity to do some trainings with our school resource officers just in case there is an active aggressor or an active shooter or some type of incident. There's not many days that go by that our deputies don't stop into the schools. I know the city police actually stop into the schools also and do walkthroughs to make sure that our schools are even safer. So I will say that for us, it's a collaborative effort. I don't think that anything happens that we can just point to just our school resource officers are making things happen. Our road deputies pitch in from time to time. Our court security deputies, officers, they pitch in from time to time. Our administrative staff. So for us, in order for one group to be successful, everybody has to pitch in order to make that to be a success.
What about engagement with young people, maybe outside of school, to help build trust, prevent crime before it starts?
Yes.
Do you see opportunities there?
Absolutely, yes. I totally agree with that. You know, we have at the Sheriff's Office, one of the things that I want to do that I think is very important for our community is I want to enhance our community engagement involvement with our youth in our community. We have done a great job in the past of, you know, being a part of certain groups and that are doing great things in our community. I think there are more opportunities for the Sheriff's Office to be involved. For instance, I know we just opened the Boys and Girls Club not long ago. I think about what the Wanda George Robinson Foundation is doing, and then other groups that are doing great things in our community. I want to make sure that we, not only myself as the sheriff, but our road deputies and other people on our team are getting actively involved in making sure that we're doing everything we can to keep our youth safe.
Okay, so your experience both in the law enforcement and some in the political sphere too. How do you make sure that the decisions that you make as sheriff for the sheriff's department not influenced by politics or personal relationships? Those are things that happen, right? How do you avoid?
Well, that? I can tell you this. So I never thought that I would be in this situation to even enter into something that would be political. My whole career with the Kentucky State Police, we were apolitical. We were taught not to be involved in things that are political. And so all my life, I have been operating on just simply doing the right thing. I've done that with the Kentucky State Police. I've done that in other jobs. To me, it has not been about, whether or not you're a Republican or whether or not you're a Democrat or whether or not, it's this political thing. For me, it's about doing the right thing and making sure that we're putting our best foot forward, making sure that we're doing things in order to be efficient and effective, and to make sure that we're doing things in order to make the community safe.
Obviously, budget is a part of you guys need to decide how to spend the money. Do you have a sense for how to prioritize the spending within the sheriff's budget?
Absolutely. The interesting thing is that I do have a lot of experience with budgeting. When I worked at Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky, we had about a $3 to $5 million budget that we operated, and I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to dabble into that. When I was the commissioner of workplace standards, we had a $14 million budget that we had a chance to manage and make sure that things are going the way they need to go. And actually, for the past 5 years, with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, Chris was the sheriff. I, as the chief deputy, had a lot of experience and had a lot of times in which he allowed me to dive in and understand the budget and make sure that we were doing things the right way. So I feel very confident that in my skills, my past experiences, my past proven experiences, that the budget will not be an issue. I've never had a budgetary issue in any of the other places that I worked. I'm confident that the team that we have assembled and put together, and they are committed to staying with me and to ensure that we are following along the footsteps that Chris has set over the past and then the things that we've proven that we can do.
What about, obviously, the funds come from the fiscal court. Your relationship, do you feel like you have a productive working relationship with the fiscal court, but obviously maintaining independence?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the strong suits that I have, is that I have a very good working relationship with the fiscal court. There are a lot of times that we may think differently about things, and that's totally okay. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of mutual respect there as it relates to what our capabilities are and my capabilities as the leader of the sheriff's office, along with the things that we need in order to ensure that the community's safe. So I feel very confident with what we've done to build those strong relationships, that those cornerstones are set in order for us to continue to be productive from a budgetary standpoint.
Do you have a sense for specific goals that you might have that you want to achieve, should you be elected in the fall for like next year?
Sure. One of the things that I set out when I became the sheriff in August is I wanted to first get us back into the narcotics game. I am a big, strong proponent of drug enforcement. I was a narcotics investigator for the Kentucky State Police for a number of years. As a matter of fact, I used to teach not only troopers but other law enforcement agencies drug recognition, what it looks like, smells like, how to conduct drug investigations. So I'm a big proponent of that. I said that when I first became sheriff. We just signed an MOU with the Kentucky State Police to put one of our deputies on a task force to start combating drugs in the Franklin County area. And I have actually had some conversations with my road deputies to talk with them just about some enforcement things that we want to do as it relates to drugs, some things that we want to do to make sure that we're keeping our community as safe as we possibly can. So I think drugs is a big thing. And the reality of it is, it's been a big thing for a number of years. If you think back, or if you look back, and I remember talking to some of the older troopers that I used to work with that were doing narcotics back in the 70s. Drugs have always been an issue. And one thing that we have to understand is that we in law enforcement have never been able to arrest ourselves out of the drug problem. So there's a lot of things that need to happen in order for us in order for us to be successful as it relates to drugs. There's an education piece, there's a communication piece, there's an enforcement piece. There's a piece also that needs to be as it relates to people who have been addicted. How do we get them clean? How do we get them to a good place to have jobs and families and all the things that we all aspire to have? So recognizing that the enforcement piece is a small piece of it, and there are a lot of other pieces that I, as sheriff, plan to be a part of, and I think that education piece is going to be very important for us to change things.
Do you think, I would assume you would probably put drugs as one of the bigger public safety challenges facing Franklin County, or are there other challenges we have?
I think, for me, I think drugs has always been an issue in every community. I don't think there's a community across the country that has not been affected by drugs. So I do think that is a huge issue, and I think we have to not ignore it, but keep picking at it and making sure that we're doing everything we can in order to take the drugs off the streets. I think not only are drugs an issue, Franklin County over the past year and a half, we seen an increase in gun violence for our youth. I can tell you right now that we have been a part of, along with the county attorney's office, putting some things together, some trainings together, some educational pieces together to combat gun violence with our youth. And so far it's been very productive. I know one of the things that we're looking at doing is there's this program called Eddie Eagle, and we're looking at bringing that into some of our programs and schooling to make sure that our youth are getting the information that they need about gun violence and gun safety, and how to make sure that they are protecting themselves and not getting in a bad situation when they come across guns. So I think, anything that we can do to educate our youth, to make sure that we're giving them information about making good choices, making sure that we're giving them information about drugs is going to be very helpful. Because one of the things that I see, and I've seen it many times, I think parents do a good job of having that conversation the initial time. And it's kind of like you have that conversation with your kids about drugs or gun violence or sex or whatever it is, and then you pat yourself on the back
all done.
Because you've done it.
Right.
But then the kids go out there, and then the peer pressure and the everyday that they see it, that has to be on a continual basis. It has to be an everyday thing that we are trying to educate our kids. We're trying to support our kids. We're trying to give them the information that they need in order to be successful. And if I could just say that's one of the good things about having school resource officers, because every single day our school resource officers are at the school talking to the kids, helping them with decision making. They're being that coach, that mentor, that person that can give them some insight that can hopefully make sure that they're staying on safe ground.
One of the things that I always note here in Frankfort and Franklin County is different departments, agencies working together. The Franklin County Sheriff's Office and the Frankfort Police Department obviously need to have a working relationship. Can you talk about that, and maybe just to make sure that we've got coverage across the county through all the different agencies?
Absolutely. I do think that's one of the strong suits that I bring to the table. I have a good working relationship with a lot of the not only state partners but federal agencies. Myself and Chief Napier, we talk frequently about not only policing issues as it relates to the law enforcement side, but community events and community things that are happening. I'm excited to say that we have a very positive working relationship with the city police department. We consider them as our backup, and I think they consider us as theirs. There's a lot of times where if we're shorthanded, they will take calls out in the county for us, and if they're shorthanded, we'll take calls in the city for them. If they have an event going on, we'll cover the calls in the city for a few hours while they take care of their event, and they will do the same for us. So I feel really good about the relationships. Having worked for the Kentucky State Police, obviously I have those contacts and those relationships. And one of the things that we have been building on since I took office is just making sure we have those relationships, because as I said before, we are a small to medium sized office, so there are going to be things that happen from time to time where we don't have the resources, and it's good that your sheriff has those contacts and can make some phone calls to get those resources here so that the citizens of Franklin County can get the relief that they need or the expectation of a service that they expect.
Speaking of expectation of service, obviously county is geographically, pretty good size. How do you make sure that you have sort of equitable service response times across the county?
And I don't mind to say that that's challenging. It really is. We have about 14 or 15 road deputies that work Franklin County. So, the county has flipped over the last 30 years. For instance, when I came here in 1991 as a Kentucky State Police trooper, I worked Franklin County, and we had 17 road troopers that worked the county, and there were 2 road deputies. Now that's completely flipped, where we, as the sheriff's office, the county belongs to us. So it's up to us to make sure that we're answering the calls and being prepared to deliver the services. So it can be challenging at times. What we have been able to do is we changed over the last little bit. We changed from 8 and 10-hour schedules to 12-hour shifts. Our team seems to like that a whole lot. I'm not a big fan of 12-hour shifts because it's long hours, but that gives us the maximum amount of coverage that we can have out in the county. So I feel like that we're doing a good job. We can always improve, but in order to do better, that means we got to hire more people. And if we hired more people to make sure that we have the services and that we're getting to all the things in a more expedient fashion, then of course that's going to cost a lot more money in order to make that happen.
So you talked about your team, your deputies. What steps would you take to make sure that the deputies are properly trained? And then also as far as accountability for their actions while on duty?
Absolutely. Training is very important to me. Like I said, I was an instructor at KSP for a number of years. I taught over at Department of Criminal Justice Training, so I know the importance of having a highly trained, well-established workforce. We were fortunate in Kentucky, I will say this, is that each year, each deputy is mandated to get 40 hours of in-service training. We take that a little bit further in that we encourage our deputies to go out and find a training that you like. Find something that you like to do while you're on the job, and we'll get you to that training. We have some guys that are really interested in narcotics, so we send them to narcotics training. We have some guys that are really interested in investigation, so we make sure that they get the investigative training, and other things that we make sure that our folks get. I can tell you a training that's very important to us that we have really focused on is making sure that we get all of our deputies to some type of SWAT training. If you think about it, during the daytime hours, we may have a few deputies out, but we also always need to be prepared for that active shooter situation or some type of event that requires us to be there in an expedient fashion, and we have to respond by ourselves. So the more tactically trained that our deputies are to get there by themselves to handle a situation, I think that's going to make everybody in Franklin County a lot safer. So I'm big on training, and as it relates to accountability, I think you can ask anybody on my team how I feel about accountability. I have proven over the past years that I expect my deputies to do things the right way. If they don't do things the right way, I think they know that they will hear from me. I've proven that by the number of people that we have either suspended or dismissed. This law enforcement thing, I really believe, we've got to do this the right way. The public, the community expects us to do it the right way. We've got to be professional. I think we've got to be respectful. I think we need to do things in a way that we need to treat people the way that we want our family members to be treated. But at the same time, we need to be prepared to take care of business when we need to. If that bad guy or bad girl out there are being disrespectful or doing things to harm other people or us, then I want my deputies to be trained and ready to take the appropriate action. And if they do that, we're going to back them every single time. But at the same time, if they're not doing what they need to be doing or supposed to be doing, then we're going to make sure that we correct that behavior.
Before we wrap up, just, in closing, why should voters trust you to lead law enforcement here in Franklin County?
Well, I think the big thing is that I have over 30 plus years of proven service. I have worked in many different capacities. I have led different units and personnel. I have budgeted and been audited, and I have done all the things that the sheriff office expects from a good leader. And I am committed to this community. I've been a resident or in this area since 1991. Wasn't born here, wasn't raised here, but I chose Franklin County. I could have went anywhere in the state, but I chose Franklin County to raise a family, and I chose it to be the place where I wanted to settle down, and I'm very proud of that fact. So I think I've proven that I can be the leader, I can be the respected leader, that professional that Franklin County deserves and needs as their sheriff.
Okay. So just then, in closing, if you take a moment to look into the camera, tell our viewers what makes you the best candidate, ask folks for your vote.
Okay.
Their vote.
So to the citizens and voters of Franklin County, I come from a background where we did not have a whole lot of resources, and we were taught that everybody should be treated equally and the same. That's where I get the sense, and I learned empathy, I learned sympathy, I learned hard work. I learned that in order to get to the top, sometimes you got to put your head down and just grind and do the work. That's my background. That's where I came from. I've done that in every position that I've had. When you look at my background, you will see experience, you will see leadership, you will see someone who has done the job almost at every level, and not only done the job, but was very successful at every level. I can say to you without a shadow of a doubt, as your sheriff, I will continue to do things the way that I've done them. You can expect professionalism. You can expect respect every time that you deal with me. You can expect a sheriff that is approachable, someone that you can come and talk to, someone that will listen to you, and someone that will make every effort in order to solve the problem that you're having. In this election, from my perspective, this is about experience. This is about making sure that you have somebody that can lead this community, that can do the things that you need as a citizen in order to make your life easier, to make your life safer. I can promise you that as the sheriff, there will be no scandals. There has not been any scandals in my 30-plus years of law enforcement and administrative work, and I can promise you that's what you'll get from me. The sheriff's office is a position that we do not need to have somebody on the job training. You have a trained sheriff. You have somebody that's prepared to lead this community. I ask for your vote in May. I ask for your support. And please know if there's anything that we can do at the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, feel free to reach out to us at any time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Where can voters learn more about your Facebook page,
Absolutely.
website?
I do. Dwayne Depp for Sheriff. You're more than welcome to go there and reach out to me if you have any questions or need additional information. My phone number, 859-797-0311. That's my personal number. You're welcome to reach out to me anytime. I do recognize that being the sheriff is a full-time, 24 hours a day, 7-day-a-week job. So I get calls every night, and I welcome those calls because, you know, the community needs help from time to time. And as your sheriff, I'm committed to making sure that I provide that help. So reach out to me at any time if you need anything. Thank you.
All right, Dwayne Depp, thank you so much for your time today. I know viewers appreciate hearing from you as we're headed towards primary election day.
Thank you.
And to our viewers, it's election season, so get informed. Voice your choice on May 19th. We'll see you next time here on Meet the Candidates.